All right, guys. Hello. Welcome to the final phase of our program, intuition. So it makes sense to kind of start off here and tell you guys what the purpose of this even is, right? You can tell someone, to develop a sense of intuition about something, but honestly, without context, that can sound just like a bunch of hippie mumbo jumbo woo woo whatever. Oh, really? Work out intuitively? Cool. Thanks, Wizard Zach. So what I want to do first is describe to you guys where this is in context, build this frame for you. And to do that, I want to talk about the different stages of consciousness real quick. And I'm not going to go too far out of left field here, even though some of my belief systems can be in that direction. But the thing to recognize is there's sort of like a hierarchy here. And I'm pretty sure pretty much everyone would be able to resonate with this. So it helps to sort of know what I'm talking about when I say that we need to turn working out into an intuition, right? So there's essentially 4 tiers to this little hierarchy. And it's a very easy little way to describe this as such. So at the very bottom, you would say that you don't even know what you don't know, right? People might call this being a sheep or being asleep, or I just wrote ignorance, right? To not even know what you know. And the second tier up there is to actually know what you don't know, right? And we would call that something of awareness. I see. I see the things that I'm missing. I see the things that I don't know. And then a step above that, you would know what you know, right? And we would call that something of competence. You would have this understanding and idea of what it is that you know now. And you know it, and you're familiar with it, and you can grasp it. But then there's this interesting stage above that where I would say that you actually don't know anymore what you know. It's not a part of your thought process anymore. Like, wherein do you go to reach the file every time you tie your shoes, right? I would say tying your shoes has become nearly intuition for everyone. And if you tried to tell someone, I want you to do it this way, they'd have to sit down and spend a lot of time actually relearning or thinking about what they know. How do I tie my shoe? Do you go left of the loop, or right? So it's already intuition for these people. Now, there is no coincidence that this is a 4-phase program, 4 stages of consciousness, and the eventual goal here is to get it working out something, health to be an intuitive thing for you anymore. Like tying your shoes. How much energy do you waste thinking about that daily? Probably not a lot. So there's an interesting thing about this hierarchy, though, and that's what separates 2 and 3. In order to go from, knowing what you don't know, having an awareness of it, and actually knowing it, there's a gap here where you must practice. You must be coached. You must be mentored. You have to have a degree of failure. This is where the failure happens. Lots and lots of failure, lots of change, lots of practice, lots of expression, or rather getting to know yourself, what you like, what's going on, what's working, what's not working. So you've got to practice in order to get yourself up to that point. So the reason why this is important is because obviously teaching you guys fundamentals is sort of, you don't even know what you don't know sometimes, right? To have the idea that your nervous system might be the form of your expression, or how exercises can be thrown into patterns and whatnot. So this is just a little bit of a model to get you the idea of where we're headed here and what we want to do. So if you're with me this far, we're jumping up into this top 2 stages right now. So the way that we're going to do that is with practice, right? So we're going to practice. So look, we all have busy lives. Some people travel. Sometimes there's a lot of things that can pull us in and out of the gym. And so it's important to have an idea of what we can still do, because this, believe me guys, health is not an all or nothing game. It really isn't. I know a lot of people that if you don't do the program prescribed, well, God, I quit. Why even bother, So we don't want it to be like that. We want to still, like, I've been injured and I haven't been able to work out in over a year, and yet I still know what my body needs. I can still listen to it. I can still check in. I can still do enough to maintain a certain level of health. So we're going to end up doing one-on-one, just whether your frequency be you're working out 2, 3, or 4 times a week. We're going to practice building some programs, right? What might it look like? What might it look like? We need to make sure we get a few of our patterns in, right? We should be working our legs, back, chest to some degree, and we're going to build this together. So what would, right? And initially you might be like, well, God, I don't know, maybe bench here and there, but this is where my feedback is going to come into a lot of play. So after working and understanding and getting the idea of some of these patterns, it's not going to be too hard to plug them in with my help and build some programs. So this way we have, depending on whatever your frequency is, you're going to be competent in what you need to know. So that aside, right, this is all going to happen in time. This is all where we're headed. I want to talk about the idea of pain here because it fits into this process. So when I talk a lot about like trainers prescribing programs like doctors prescribe pills, what we're looking at is a lot of times fighting the symptom of things rather than maybe initiating or rather than pulling out the root or the source of things. So the intuition is helpful in that because you can often think like, is what I'm doing part symptom or source? Am I fighting a losing battle, which would be just, oh God, things pop up like whack-a-mole. Oh gosh, I don't feel good. Well, that. Rather than maybe there's a whole thing we can unearth here to help move my growth and success as an individual along. So health is obviously a good way to do that because I believe that the body is an expression of the spirit. I believe that the way that we walk, the way that we move, the way that we dance our way through life has a lot to do with how we feel inside. And so these things coincide and we will treat them as such. So pain is an interesting indicator here because a lot of times people will come to me with, if you elbow pain or knee pain, right? And the interesting thing about the elbow and the knee is it's strictly a one plane hinge joint, whereas the symptom of the source of these two things tend to be the shoulder and the hips. So if you have knee pain, likely something is not connected around the hips. Something around your posterior chain is not engaging, right? If your elbow hurts, maybe you're too forwardly rolled here. Maybe something's going on with your forearm or grip strength. It's typically something, and so having that understanding lets you go, I recognize this. What do I need? Which is essentially the intuitive question here. Our expression video was, how am I responding to this, right? Which is essentially, how do I feel? But this is sort of like the next step, which is, what do I actually need? So you have knee pain. What do I need? Well, God, painkillers and a knee brace. Yeah? Is that really what you need? Maybe hip alignment, maybe posterior chain exercises. Maybe take a second to actually listen to your body and breathe. There could be some things going on here. Maybe you're just really stressed. Maybe your low back is tight. Maybe your core is not strong. Like, there's a number of reasons why these things, because the whole body's connected. And this is a little bit of the idea here, is because the whole body is connected, we have to get a little bit more in tune with what it's saying. So the nervous system is all about sending and receiving signals. And the brain essentially looks like an antenna, honestly, a big long spinal cord and then the brain at the top. And it's a receptor. And so we have this ability to recognize the signals as they're being sent. But as it goes through our own individual perspectives and as we go through life, and since we have all this noise and distraction and we got kids and work and pain and hobbies and we have to eat and crap every day, and it's like all of this stuff is very, very distracting. So when we slow down, take a breath, listen, what is it that we hear? Can we interpret the signals properly and create a plan moving forward? So that's a bit about what this phase is going to be. I will check in with y'all in the next video.